Welcome to the podcast, guys, with Rob and Nando. Guys, you won't believe your eyes and ears when you see and hear this. Let's get into it.
I hate to say this, but I think that women have to lower their standards. Before you go crazy on me, just hear me out. The amount of chronically single girlfriends that I know, either approaching their 30s or already in their 30s, that are like wanting to settle down and have a family, but can't, is an epidemic at this point. And we're talking about women that are financially stable, have educations, are beautiful, have their fathers in their lives, like come from nice families. Like, we're not talking about like a bum bitch. We're talking about like a very decent young lady. So I'll have conversations with my friends and they'll say things like, oh, like, I want him to make like at least $200,000 a year, like at minimum. He has to be in shape. Like, I really like a guy with a six pack. I love a guy who's like 6'2". I need a guy with like a full head of hair. Like, I can't do bald guys. Every single time you throw a new specification into what you desire, the only person that fits within the parameters of what you are looking for exists in your fucking dreams. No, I've had girlfriends tell me like, oh my god, no, he's great, this and that, like, but I can't do a short king. So you're telling me you found a guy that's like not bad looking, has a great job with benefits, like financially stable, comes from a great family, and you can't do it because his legs aren't long enough? Like, you bitches are out of your minds. Listen, and I truly believe that, like, women are God's gift to earth, but, like, you're not a dream come true either. I'm sure that if he were to play Build-A-Bear, you wouldn't fall within the parameters of what his dream woman is. But you meet somebody and they have enough great qualities, like, those things can cancel out. Oh, well, I really like brunettes. And if you aren't a brunette, you're a blonde, but you have all these other things that check off all the boxes, he's going to fall in love with you regardless. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that you cannot fall in love with a man because he's not tall or he doesn't have a full head of hair. Like, I don't know. I just think that you bitches are out of your minds. That's all I'm saying.
Very well said. We got to give her a round of applause for that.
We have to give her a round of applause because have we finally found a woman that is making sense out of all this and explaining why these bitches are crazy?
That is the first time I've seen a woman actually admit to that, and she made perfect sense. I don't think anything she said was out of line. I think she said it perfectly.
Like, I've never seen a woman agree about how crazy these bitches are.
100%.
And we finally have one here.
I wanted to quickly read the top comment from that video was pure gold. So the top comment on that video was, it's not even lowering standards. It's really just dating their level. And that is exactly what we've been saying since day one. Women think that by not dating a guy that's tall, handsome, and makes $200K, that they're somehow lowering their standards. No. You're just going to date somebody that's more up your alley. You're going to date somebody that's on your level. Okay? That's really what it is. You're not lowering your standards. Your standards are unrealistic anyway. Like the woman just said in the video, it's fantasy. So you're not really lowering your standards. What you're doing is you're aiming your sights to something more realistic, something more in your realm.
Problem is that there's women on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst looking and 10 being the best looking, which is there's no 10 because there's no perfect woman nor man. We have women that are 4s, 5s, 6s, wanting a guy that they think is a 10.
Absolutely.
Right? That they think is a 9, 9.5, like almost perfect.
Yep.
Oh, they want a perfect guy. The thing is that, again, there is no perfect man nor woman, but especially women, because these women have so many flaws, and we finally have one that went against the norm, which is great. It's a breath of fresh air because you don't see that too often. You usually see women defending themselves or other women when they have so many wrongdoings just because they're biased, just because they're women. And that's not the case with us. We'll hit guys hard on this podcast, and we'll hit the ladies hard on this podcast.
When we say it, they think we're being out of line and we're crazy. Oh, why should women lower their standards? You heard it from a woman, and I think she explained it very well. She hit the key points. One thing she mentioned is that women will find any reason to disqualify a guy. She has friends personally that met a guy that's, successful, handsome. They got along well on the date. Oh, but I can't date him because he's 5'6". And she said it towards the end of the video where she goes, and it's true. If men were to play Build-A-Bear, we're not exactly ending up with what we want either. You're not going to find a perfect man. You're not going to find a perfect woman. And what did she say? Imagine if like a guy found a woman and said like, she was good looking. I found her attractive, but she's a brunette. I only date blondes. That's what these women are doing. They're finding any reason to disqualify the guy. And then they get older and older. They get frustrated with dating. They're wondering why they're single at 35 or at 40. They need to get real.
Of course, they have to be realistic. Aren't there guys out there overlooking some flaws that women have?
The reality for men is we already know there's always going to be some kind of a flaw. Our standards, I think, are realistic. We don't ask for much. And look, I don't know of any guys personally that run around saying like, well, I only date models. I only date 9s. She has to be a size 0. You don't hear guys saying that shit because we live in reality. We know the reality of dating, and you can't just make up standards. And that's what these women do, is they just like make things up. 10 years will go by and they don't end up with a guy like that. That should be the first telltale sign for any woman watching this. If you have high standards and 10 years went by and you're still not with that guy, and now you're 35 or 40 years old, then that should tell you something. That's like, that should be whispering in your ear, like maybe that type of guy is not for you. Maybe those type of guys aren't attracted to you. It's a cold, hard reality. It's a hard pill to swallow. Nobody likes the idea of ending up with somebody lower, but that's just life.
She mentioned that there are some women out there that say that there are some guys that are great. He's financially stable. He comes from a good family. He's attractive. He looks good, but he's a short king. And that right there disqualifies them. Is that fair? Does that even make sense for a woman to disqualify a man because, as she said, he doesn't have the height?
It makes no sense at all. If your standards are, let's just say, salary, that's number one, right? The guy has to make a certain amount of money. Understandable. You want him to be attractive. Also understandable. If you meet a guy that has those qualities and then you disqualify him because of the shoes he was wearing, or because he gave you an ick, or because he's too short, that's retarded. What do these women think? Like, if you keep disqualifying men over stupid shit like that, like height, which he can't even control anyway. He controlled, what he could, and he got to a certain point financially. You're going to disqualify the guy over his height, something he can't even control. It's retarded.
So we can say that women are super quick to disqualify a potential dating partner over something as being a short king, or not having abs, or being bald versus having a full head of hair.
Women will disqualify you for any reason. It's almost like they look for a reason to disqualify you.
It doesn't make sense to me. Do you see any changes happening? Do you see any women trying to date their level? Those women that are 4s, 5s, and 6s, will they focus on guys that are average men, 4s, 5s, and 6s of men?
I think we've all met women that you can just kind of tell that they're going to stay delusional for the rest of their life. I know women that are in their mid-30s. They have absolutely no intention of lowering their standards. They don't care if they end up dying alone, single. They're not lowering their standards because they have this delusional belief that they went to college, they got a degree, they spend the last 10 years building up their career, and now they're somehow entitled to a successful man. And now they somehow fall into this dating pool of successful people, and that is far from the truth. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see personally, is that you do have a lot of women nowadays that are well off financially, educated, so on and so forth, but they think that like, oh well, I make $100K now, so I guess now I qualify for guys that make $200K.
Well, we don't give a shit about women's money. Men
doesn't work that way.
Men in general don't give a shit about women's money. Yeah, you may have a couple that want to, take advantage of a woman's money if she has it, but the majority of men don't give a damn whether you are an executive making $200K a year, $500K a year, $1 million a year, $1 billion a year. We don't care about that, because there's guys that would choose the girl that works at Subway over you.
She said in the video to women, she's like, you guys aren't perfect either. And women need to stop and like think about that for a minute. If you're disqualifying guys over bullshit like height or because you got an ick, forget the guy for a second and look at yourself and ask yourself, are you an 8, 9 looks wise? Are you a size 0, 1, 2? Do you have a nice body? Do you have size C's or D's? Do you have a nice ass? I guarantee you something there's not going to be off. Something's going to be off. Your face, maybe you have a flat ass, maybe your personality's a little cunty. No, that's the truth. That's the truth. There's no perfect woman, and guys know that. We're going to look at a woman and we're going to say, okay, she's attractive. Boom, that's point one. You're going to hang out with her. You're going to see if you get along with her. And that's pretty much our qualification process right there. You spend some time with her, see if you get along. Women are going to vet you out financially. Who are your friends? What are your hobbies? Your height? How do you dress? What's your apartment like? Do you live alone? Do you live with roommates? What car do you? It's crazy. And women are, honestly, at this point, look, I'm not here to preach to women what standards they should have. We're just pointing out to you the obvious of why a lot of you are not finding anyone, because you're doing it to yourself.
It's like women should walk around with a checkboard and check off every guy they meet, check off what he really, what they pretty much qualify in her mind. Like, if he's good looking, check. If he is 6 feet tall or higher, check. To check off as many boxes as possible and see if he qualifies for her. Because at this point, that's what women are doing. They're pretty much just walking around, and in their mind, they're saying, well, he has A through Y, but he's missing Z. That disqualifies him right there. Fuck him. Right? I want the next guy. But there's no perfect guy, and that's what they don't get. So what are some unrealistic standards women have?
I think the first one, probably the most common one, is women expect a guy to make way more than them. And the truth is, a lot of women are doing well financially themselves. So you have plenty of women that are making 100K plus. So they now want a guy that makes 200K or 250 or 300. I've heard crazy stuff too, where certain women want millionaires or a guy to make 500K. But a lot of these women nowadays, I think the expectation is like 200K plus. It's not realistic. Why is it not realistic? Again, small percentage of men make that amount, and those type of men are now going to be in a position to be picky. Once you get to a point where you have a successful man, the tables turn. Women have their choice in their 20s, maybe even into their 30s. But once you're talking about a man that's successful, that makes 200, doctors, lawyers, successful people, they're going to be the ones that are going to be picky now. You're no longer their top pick. So that's the first thing. I think salary, and I think another unrealistic thing, which we just said, is that women expect guys to hit all the checkpoints: finances, looks, height, personality, funny, interesting. It's not realistic. If it was realistic, and I think this is fair to say, if it was a realistic standard to have, most of these women would have locked in a guy like that by now. So think about that. You've been dating actively for 10 years, 15 years. It still hasn't happened. You still haven't locked in a guy like that. This isn't my opinion. You haven't found that guy yet. You haven't locked in a guy like that yet. So maybe that's just not for you.
Are women oblivious to the fact that there's no man out there that's going to live up to 100% of their expectations? Or are they blatantly aware of the situation and they just want what they want? They want that perfect guy. They want the 10, even though the 10 doesn't exist. Because, again, we're saying that there's no women that's a 10, but there's no guy that's a 10. Nobody has a perfect life. Nobody's a perfect person. We all have flaws, right? So what can we say about that? Are women aware, or are they oblivious?
I think it's straight up a fantasy. I think women like that fantasy of, like, they even read like these, like, I don't even know what you call it, those like sexual fictional fantasy type of books. Those are always like the top sellers in the for women. Something like 50 Shades of Grey, stuff like that. It's all fantasy. So I think they're oblivious to it. But even the ones that know that it's like not realistic, I think they like to live in that fantasy and that hope of, like, they dream of like a certain type of guy coming into their life. look, it's okay to have a fantasy, but like sooner or later, you gotta like live in reality. Like there's times to fantasize, and then there's times to be like, okay, I'm almost 40. This shit hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? Plus, why wouldn't you want to eventually? You know, you have a lot of these women that are like, they get bitter about it. It's like, oh, well, I'll just stay single then. I'm not settling. I don't need a man. And they start to like kind of cope with the reality of it. They start to cope with the fact that like the reality starts to hit them like, okay, I'm not landing this guy. I'm not landing this guy. Shit, I'm 35. Shit, I'm 38. So now they tell themselves, I'll just stay single.
Well, it's funny because she mentioned in the video how there's men that have to be 6'2", that have to make $200K minimum, that they have to have a full head of hair, that they have to have abs. And she's saying that these men exist in these women's dreams because, simply put, it's nearly impossible to have somebody that perfect. Even if they have all that, there's some flaws that they're not going to like.
Yep.
And they're going to disqualify them over that stupid shit. Oh, he's not confident enough, but he has everything else. Maybe he can work on being confident. Maybe he can work on things. People always have room for improvement.
Let's talk about this for a second. Women don't want to settle. We hear it all the time. I'm not settling. I'm not settling. You know, I know my worth, yada, yada. But they expect that successful, good-looking, tall man to settle for them. She's not perfect. I guarantee you, most of these broads that have these standards, even the super attractive ones, have flaws. A lot of them are bitchy, narcissistic. They're terrible with money. They have maxed out credit cards. They have no concept of reality when it comes to like spending and managing their money. But they expect the guy to settle. They don't want to settle, but the guy's supposed to settle. It's not. It's all fantasy. It's not realistic.
It's funny because women expect men to overlook their flaws,
yes.
And it's practically impossible for women not to have flaws, and they expect men to look over that. And men are willing to look over certain things. You know, I'm sure certain minimal things, but if you're a woman that's a bitch, that's not nice, that doesn't bring peace, that complains all the time, that likes to argue all the time, men don't want that. So men won't overlook that. But maybe they'll overlook a woman that she's brunette, but he likes blondes, or she likes to go out, but he prefers to stay home, but she mixes it up. She does a little bit of both. You know, so there's certain things that men will overlook. Certain ways that she goes about herself. Men might overlook that. The way she acts, men might overlook. But I think men have given too much leeway to women. They've given too many chances, even when they fuck up.
Here's a question. Since we're talking about like settling and lowering standards, should a successful man settle for a woman that slept with 50 guys? I don't know. Should he? I don't know if that's a fair thing to do. She has high standards. She doesn't want to settle. Why should a tall, good-looking, successful man settle for a woman that's already experienced 50-plus guys?
Well,
for what?
I would say absolutely not, because women wouldn't do it either. They wouldn't settle for a man, even though men are the prize. They wouldn't settle for a man that has 50 bodies. They wouldn't.
And that's that. Have my cake and eat it too mentality that these women have. They're 100% focused on their needs, standards, their unwillingness to lower anything because they know their worth, but they fail to realize it. Like just like she said, if a man was to pull this build a bear or build a bitch type of scenario where we like make this false creation of a woman, a good-looking, skinny, nice face, nice hair, slept with only one or two guys. It's all fantasy. It's not reality. Women need to like drill this into their heads. You can have whatever standard you like. Okay, we could sit here and tell ourselves that we only date models. It's not real. If it hasn't happened yet, you're just feeding yourself these like delusional thoughts. You know, you're just living in a fantasy land.
She was saying that there's an epidemic of chronically single women either approaching their 30s or in their 30s.
Yep.
How much truth is there to that?
we've done episodes in the past where we said by 2030 it was like some crazy number of women are going to be single, childless. What was it, like 50%, 60%?
It's about 45 to 50%.
There you go. And that's what I mean by it. It's like women don't like hearing that they have to lower their standards. And again, I'll repeat it again. You don't have to do anything. You could raise your standards if you want, but this is the results that's coming towards you. You eventually have to consider it. Like, if half of women are going to be single, childless by 2030, most of these women haven't even come close to locking in a man with those credentials. Who are you fooling here?
Yeah, so you can conclude that it's the truth. It's kind of like an epidemic. It's happening all over the place. I'm sure it's happening more all over the world now. And it's, when you think about it, it's a scary thought, because so everybody's going to be single, and then what? Because women can't take a man with a couple flaws, and I mean, that's pretty much it. Women can't take a man with a couple of flaws. I mean, again, guys are willing to overlook and deal with certain things to be with women. How many guys out there dealing with women now that they would prefer not to deal with, but they're with them because they might be decent in bed, or they might bring them some peace? I mean, there's a few things, but, mostly because they don't want to be alone. Average dudes don't want to be alone. I mean, that's why we preach becoming high value. That's why we preach the importance of men improving. Even if you don't get to high value, because there's only a certain amount of men that can be high value, at least pushing yourself to an above average man can get you places.
It's really the only choice you have as a guy. Nowadays, it's literally the only thing you could do is improve financially, physically, social skills, so on and so forth. There's no other way that I can think of.
And these women think that it's enough, as she said, to be financially stable, to come from a good family, to be beautiful, to have a father, not have daddy issues. They think that's enough, but sometimes that's not enough.
This generation of women, the millennial generation of women that are already in their 30s, they're in for like a really rude awakening, because I could just tell by their general attitude that most of these women, regardless of what we say or anybody else says, even if women say it to them, the reality is most of these women are not going to lower their standards. They're going to live in fantasy land. They're going to keep telling themselves that they deserve a successful man. They're going to continue complaining about dating, and it's going to go nowhere. And I think they're in for a rude awakening, because, look, the sad reality is the way this is all going to end is they're going to hit a certain age. It's going to be game over. And at that point, there's nothing you could do. Guys will still hook up with you. Guys will still sleep with you. Because I've heard women say, well, that's not true, because I'm 45 and guys hit on me all the time. Yes, to sleep with you. They're not.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And that's
we
it.
know that. We know that there, maybe you could be 55 and still get hit on. We're aware of that. We're guys. We know that guys are going to still hit on women. We're not saying that women hit a certain age and all of a sudden guys are going to like somehow stop talking to you or looking at you altogether. No, of course they're going to hit on you and try to sleep with you, but that's it.
The change doesn't seem to be happening with women on their own. I give credit to this woman here in this video. She called women out on their BS. Should more women be doing that to help one another?
Yes, because up till now, women give each other terrible advice. Oh, girl, you could do so much better.
Typically, yes. Typically, that's
women
true.
give each other bad advice.
They give each other shit advice. But this is one exception.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to get to is women usually give each other bad advice. Women should start taking advice like this, and women should start criticizing each other like this. Not to be negative, not to put each other down. Women need to hear reality like this, because the way she said it was not offensive. She wasn't crossing the line. She just told these women what they need to hear. And maybe hearing it from a woman is the answer, because they're not going to listen to guys. So maybe hearing it from other women, if they tell each other like, hey, girl, you're almost 40, and you know something? Women should take advice from other women that are in a relationship or that are married and have kids, because at least those type of women can steer them in the right direction. Don't take advice from your bimbo friends.
Or single friends, because single friends will bring them down to their level. They might have something going well, and they might tell them a couple of things about the guy and bring them down to being single. And women love to say how strong and independent they are. Will they ever be strong enough, because it's not always the case where someone else will be able to help them out. Women will need to change within themselves. They have to have that inner change to be able to have things go in a better direction at this point. Will women be strong enough to break their delusions about the need for the perfect man?
You know what it takes? It's very simple. What has to happen is they need to drop their ego. That's the first thing. These women nowadays have a high ego because, you know, they made it through college, they got a good career, upgraded their apartment, or maybe they bought a house. So their ego got built up. They're around more successful people now. They have to drop the ego and really like self-reflect. Like that woman said, rate yourself from 1 to 10. What are your looks like? What is your personality like? Are you a perfect 10? Probably not, right? So they should really drop the ego, set more realistic expectations, date within your own tax bracket, because you're only fooling yourself by keeping these high standards. We don't give a shit. You could keep your high standards, but you're gonna end up alone.
And one of the last things here, if women don't break their delusions, because there are women that are going to still want to do what they want whenever they want, decide, make decisions that will affect them negatively. But will they be desperate enough to ever lower their standards and be able to settle for not any man, but settle for a man that doesn't quite meet those top expectations, that perfect man?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen for a lot of these women, because I don't believe that they want to stay alone and single. Like, I think women, when they say that they're coping, they're going to reach a certain age where reality is going to settle in, and then they're going to have to settle. The only problem with that is that by then it might be too late, because if you want to have kids and you're 40, 45, you're putting yourself in a position where you may not ever have kids. So if that's important to you, consider that.
So to close out, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big one to really think about. Again, guys are open, but women are really closed about how many guys are their options. And that might be something that is detrimental to their dating life. So, ladies, wake up before it's too late, and make sure you all subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification button, and we'll see you next time.